Welcome back to Vape Radio, your source for everything you want to know about the business of vaping. Whether you're a brick and mortar, developer of e-liquids, online marketer, or anyone else in the vape space, why don't you learn from the first, the biggest, the best educational providers in the country? With your host, the founder of that organization, VapeMentors, it's the Vape Master himself, Norm Bauer.
Here we are, guys. We are at episode number 60 for Vape Radio. We've got over 520,000 downloads, and for those of you who are new or for those of you who have been following us for a while, we can't thank you enough for everything that you've done, and we just ask that you keep listening as we hit 1 million downloads by the end of the year. That is our goal, and I want to introduce you to one of our new sponsors. I want to welcome the Council of Vapors to our radio show. You might not have heard of the Council of Vapor, but you know you will. If you have a concept for a mod or a pen of any style, these are the pros to speak with. They create sleek, high-quality vaping hardware and will help you with your design, prototype, and manufacturing. They already produce some of the top sellers out there, including the Royal Hunter and the Kindred lines, and create only high-quality products. But that's just the beginning. They just opened up one of the largest e-liquid production centers in the country with over 50,000 square feet under one humongous roof. I've been there, and they already are manufacturing for some of the top names in the industry, and they want to work with you. They're going to help you with your hardware and e-liquid needs no matter what size company you have. You can go to The Council of Vapor, singular, thecouncilofvapor.com. They're also rolling out a new line called Osmos, O-Z-M-O-S, with 8 new flavors ranging from sweet desserts to cocktail juices. What's so special and different about them? Well, they're willing to show you, and if you contact them and mention Vape Radio, they're going to send you an exclusive sample pack of all 8 flavors. Once again, that website is thecouncilofvapor.com. So we did something a little different here today. This is only the second time I've actually carried an interview over into 2 segments, but I met with my friend, my associate, Austin Hopper, formerly of Cutwood, now with Revol. I'm going to reveal the name right here for the first time, Revol. And you're going to find out during the course of this interview where that name Revol comes from. And I wish I had had it on video because Mr. Hopper, he got all embarrassed, and you're going to find out right now why. Welcome back to Vape Radio. This is your host, Norm Bauer, the voice of the vape space. If you have been listening to part 1 of our interview with Austin Hopper, you're probably saying, I want more, I want more. Well, you know what? I want more too, and so I coerced him, twisted his arm, begged him, paid him, did whatever I had to do, and he's back again because there's so much more to talk about, and realistically, the likelihood and the chance of getting this guy in one room when he's not in an airplane is very, very challenging. So you talked before we went on to the break about the challenges of developing new flavors. And so I'm sitting here at his office in Orange County, California with, a half a dozen or so different vials. So how in the world does someone come up with that amazing flavor? And how do we know it's just not our biased taste buds that are causing us to think it's better than what it is?
Well, the smart thing for me is I always collaborate with people that are much smarter than me, and finding out, what goes with what. And, I had the privilege of working with Aaron Peterson, who talked about the Flavor Bible. Right?
Flavor Bible, I've never heard that term.
Bible.
All right.
It's actually a book that's out. It tells you that you can put grape with honeydew, and you can put honeydew with honeysuckle, and it tells you what things go well together. And so, I just think that, that's a great place for people to start. And what I do is I collaborate with people that are much better than me in the industry, and finding out what processes that I should be doing, flavors I should use, and those type of things. I can tell you that I'm collaborating with some of the largest people in the industry on these flavors and trying to figure out what's best, because it's tough. Because right now, as far as making clean flavors, right, making sure that there's no diacetyl and no AP and those type of things in our product, it's a tough time in the industry to be coming out with a new flavor line.
All right, so right now you're in the process of creating 3 flavors for Revol. Is it even possible to get a consensus of experts that you all agree on the top 3 flavors, or do you just have to say, if 2 out of 3 say it's good and 1 out of 3 doesn't, I still have to go with my gut instinct?
Well, I think that I can't be emotionally attached to any of them.
Make a note of that, guys.
So it doesn't really matter what I think. It's about what the end user is going to think and what they want. It was nice to be able to sit down with dinner up in New Jersey with Phil and some other people, like Gabe from Legacy and Chris Amenis and his group. We sat down and I said, Phil, try this flavor. And he looks at me and goes, it's good. that always makes you feel good.
And so the Phil he's referring to is Phil Basardo, who is obviously well known in the YouTube circles. He's been a reviewer along with Grimm since 2009. We have an interview with Phil Basardo back in December. If you'd like to listen to it, just let us know and we'll go ahead and connect the links. So would you say that he has a good sense of taste because he's probably tasted multiple thousands of different flavors?
I think that there's no one else I trust more than Phil Basardo.
That is quite a testimonial.
And I think he's amazing, and I think what he does for our industry is absolutely above reproach. The one thing that I know about Phil is that Phil is going to tell you what he thinks and not what he thinks you want to hear.
And that's important.
Absolutely. And, so that's the thing is that I get good, honest feedback. I worked with Keith on having him try a flavor, and he said, I'd up this flavoring by this, I'd take this one down by that. And when I mentioned Keith, I'm talking about Diamond Vapor and Aisle 7, who's obviously been extremely successful in the vape game. And I guess Nora's Dream just won Best Cereal. So he probably knows a thing or two about flavors. So what I do know is that I'm not too proud to ask for help. And I have a lot of friends in the industry and in the vape community. And everybody is waiting to see what comes next from Austin Hopper. And Revol is it. And I have people that are asking me, I want to be the first store to carry it. Just send it to me. All
right. So that gives you an amazing edge. Because when Joe Blow out there creates a flavor, he doesn't have those connections, which, of course, you took years developing those connections. But let's talk about Revol. So what's the story behind the name? Where did Revol come from?
Revol is lover backwards.
Oh, you heard it here first on Vape Radio. And so, is that a self-imposed name, or did someone happen to call you that?
Actually, I didn't.
He's turning red, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to take a picture of this.
One of few times ever in my life.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Lover backwards.
Truthfully, my son Kenny and Kyle came up with that. I didn't. Because once again, you're looking at things that are on the market and how do you branch out? Because you have all these amazing people who are already in the industry who have all these amazing names, and what's going to stand out? What's going to be different? Well, the good thing is when you have Revol on your shirt, you're looking in the mirror, it says lover.
So you print your shirts backwards, mirror image.
So that
very
way,
clever.
There's just what's going to make us different. What's going to make us stand out. And because everybody has amazing juice. There's so many amazing juices out there. And, it's about becoming part of the vape community. It's not just about selling e-liquid, at least not for me. It's about being a part of and continuing to do. Because everybody's going to look and see, okay, I've been at all these amazing companies. What's next? Right? So when it comes out, it's got to have wow factor. And that's what I always tell people when they come out, what's your wow? So mine has to be a wow. Because if I give all this information and I work with all these other brands, because I do a lot of consulting with new companies, and I always tell them, 3 flavors, what's your wow? So I'm coming out with 3 flavors and a wow. Got to find my wow. So, there's no difference in what I'm doing than anything that I talked about when we did the Vape U on that class. It's 3 flavors. 3 flavors is the key. It's easier for a store to pick up. And especially, you are right. I do have advantages. I laugh with the guys when I go on the sales floor because, I'll pick up a store and I probably know that store because I've been to so many events like you that they know me by face as well as name. So when I call on the phone, they're like, hey, what's going on, buddy? It's no longer one of those, how can I help you?
It's a personal call.
It's relationships.
So I want to talk about names of lines of liquids because the names are really, really important. And I was actually hired by a company that had very boring names. And I told them they need to change those very boring names, and they have not. And that's another story which we don't need to get into. But I'm also working with a company that's launching a very innovative hardware product, and I really don't like the name. I told them it needs to be edgier, it needs to be more cool, it needs to be more hip, and maybe some of those words are outdated because it's more for my demographics and my older generation. But the truth is that can you make, or I'm going to ask the question, will a bad product name cause a good flavor to not be recognized, and will a good product name cause something that's maybe average to really, get on people's radars?
I believe that to be true.
I do as well.
Von Vape is an amazing e-liquid line out of Sarasota, Florida. And, their flavors were like strawberry lemonade and red licorice.
Not very exciting names, by the way.
Yeah, especially for a upscale James Bondish-esque type brand. And I said, guys, when's the last time that you ever heard Sean Connery walk up to the bar and say, "Give me a strawberry lemonade"?
Yes.
Right? So they've worked on redoing it, and their line is absolutely taken off. And their flavors are amazing. And it's just one of those things. So, yes, branding has a lot to do with it. Names have a lot to do with it. Because people in the vape community are just like you and I, Norm. They're just like everybody else around the globe. They all want to be a part of something. And they want to be a part of something that they consider hip and cool. And
are those words still used, by the way, or are we just too old to remember?
Well, you got to remember, you and I are from the same generation, so
yeah,
we're the blind leading the blind.
I don't know what the new words are to indicate the same thing as hip and cool, but for those of you young kids, look it up. You'll know. Ask your parents what hip and cool means. Gnarly's been gone for 30 years, so I don't know what you use now.
Exactly. So I'm sure that people will email you, and they'll probably hit me up on Instagram and say, "You don't say cool anymore, Austin." What
Exactly. Yes.
So we'll know for the next one. There's
excellent.
No
do your market research.
Absolutely.
Ask questions.
There you go. And that's the key to anything. And it's just, staying involved and being true to the relationships that you have. Because the unfortunate thing is the customers aren't reaped, they're harvested, right? And you got to sow that. And that harvest comes every year. And you can't just go pick people out and just take them once. It's how do you build that relationship and keep that customer?
Nice.
I've worked with the same customers since my Space Jam days. I still do today.
So they follow you regardless of where you go?
Well, I think it's people do business with people. It's about relationship.
Yeah.
And, I have a bunch of them reaching out to me saying, "Hey, when's it coming out? When's it coming out? I want it. They haven't even tried it yet. Right? So I just think that that's a huge testimonial to the places where I've been and the relationships that I've cultivated along the way.
Well, let me ask you, one of the things that we're rolling out in VapeMentors is that we are rolling out a turnkey solution for brick-and-mortar stores to develop their own lines of e-liquids. So you've seen the transition over the last several years, is that initially everyone just carried the big name brands, and then people started developing their own lines, usually improperly, by the way, so it's not a clean room. It's not a clean room. Make no mistake about that. So, but what we've seen is right now about 50 to 60% of the brick-and-mortar stores now have their own lines. Well, we want to help those stores develop their own lines, and so we've created a turnkey solution with some of the top contract manufacturers in the business. Would you say that as a brick-and-mortar store owner, it makes sense to develop your own line of e-liquids?
Well, I think that it really depends on your market. Right? So, like Orange County, for instance, you're competing with so many other shops because it's almost like a Starbucks here. You drive down the street and there's a vape store on every corner. When you're in another region, Texas is a good example because there's a lot of space and a lot of great people there. I think that it's good to have your own brand because I think it gives that draw to get people into your store specific. And I think that it really depends. It's going to be regional. I don't know that it's going to be necessarily a nationwide because, once again, how do you compete for flavors? Right? How do you compete with a unicorn milk? How do you compete with a milk and honey? So I think those become questions. So if you have a flavor that's unique to you, then I think you're really good with that. But how do you develop that? Right? And I think that's why with the manufacturers that you're working with, because I know who they are, obviously, they have that ability. And I think is when you're trying to be in a small store, then it's really hard to come up with those flavors. Because what you're doing is you're saying, well, yeah, this is just like unicorn milk. But they sell unicorn milk.
Got it.
So how do you compete with that? And I think that, that's why it's important what you're doing is that you're helping them to be successful so that they don't go and do those things
improperly.
And so what happens is now they're coming out with that house line, that they're trying to do themselves, or they're continuing to do their same house line and they're not going through manufacturing. And how are they going to, when deeming regulations come down and those type of things, how are they going to be able to survive with that?
Agreed.
I think that that's why it's important that you do what you do. And I think that, you're going to have to eventually come to a point when those flavors and those things, where you're helping them design the labels, they have the warnings on there that need to be there. And because people are doing it, they'll be able to keep up with it. Because unfortunately, we all know that a lot of vape stores are what we would classify as a mom and pop business. They don't have a lot of employees. They don't have a lot of time to research. They're in their store from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. They go home, they eat, they go to bed, and they do it all over again.
That's right. That's the word of being a vapreneur.
And, the whole thing. Did you coin that phrase?
I did coin that phrase. Yeah, like that. That's the name of our book,
Is it?
Yeah, we have a book called Vapreneur. I'm going to do my shameless plug because Vapreneur is going to be redone. By the time you hear this, the new edition will be out. And it's basically profiling other guys like Austin. All these amazing stories of the people who have overcome whatever they overcome to become significant in the vape space. So, yes, I did coin Vapreneur. Thank you very much.
Good. You'll see my story in the back of the book because everybody else will be much more important. And, but no, so I think that, people need leadership, and this industry is one when you have vape stores, because they're such amazing people. When you look and you hear all the stories about where people have come from and what they've done, and, there's a lot of people out there that have left really significant, careers to go into the vape space. And I think it's very important, those people are looking for people that have experience. And like I said in the beginning of the program, is that I know I surround myself with people who are smarter than me.
As do I.
And so with that being the case, is that I always know I have the dumbest opinion in the room. So that's okay. I'm good with that. And so I can work with people who are smarter than me because I'm not too proud to go up and say, what do you think? I'm not afraid to ask. And when somebody says, well, let's do this, and I don't understand why, I'll say, tell me why.
Nice.
Just tell me why. That's all I need to know. Just tell me why.
So one of your unique skills, along with a lot of other skills, Lover, is that you are emceeing several large events. Now, by the time you hear this particular spot, ECC may be over because it's coming up is it the 17th, 18th, and 19th of August?
Actually the 13th through the 16th.
Okay, so August 13 and 16. So if you're hearing this before, and if you can get to or are in Southern California, ECC is pretty much the major player.
It is the Super Bowl.
It is a Super Bowl, exactly. And so yours truly, speaking of Austin, you are going to be the MC. And what does that mean exactly in ECC? Because that's a little bit of a chaotic circus in its own right.
Well, I think that, first of all, it's an honor.
It absolutely is.
The first MC of ECC. And I love
Well, I'm going to interject. They could not have picked a more justified person between the personality and the experience to do what needs to be done. So carry on. I'm going to give you that props, brother.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Steve and, they'll say, and everybody there is just such an amazing group of people. And I think the last year's ECC, we had a lot of loud music here and a lot of loud music there. And I know that they put in a lot of changes for that.
Less loud music here, less loud music there this year?
Yes.
Good, because it was a little bit overwhelming.
And so, that's one of the things, and that's why, they asked me about emceeing the event so we could kind of keep those things, and we could get people scheduled for giveaways and things like that from the main stage. I think that that's important so everybody's not trying to fight for that same space. And so I think that we're going to see a lot more organization from that standpoint. I think that they put on the most amazing events, and I do a lot of events. And I have to tell you, ECC and Steve Mack and his crew, absolutely hands down, are second to none.
So this is going to be the world launch of Revol. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That is correct. So what, are you having some major rap star there or are you it? Any celeb, because you're well connected. You know everybody.
I think the biggest celebrity that will be there will be in a little black bottle called Revol.
Revol. So 3 flavors is obviously what you've come up with.
And we may only release one of them at ECC.
Ah, you tricky devil, you.
Well, here's the thing. We have Vape Blast coming up right after that, where I MC Vape Blast as well.
And that's coming up Texas. And that's when?
That's the end of August.
End of August. Okay, so make a note, guys.
We may do a Revol tour. We release one flavor at ECC, one at Vape Blast, and one at the next upcoming event. So, I just think that it's very important. Once again, hype sells.
So since we talked about names, do you have names of your flavors?
I do, but I can't release them.
Oh, come on. I want an exclusive for Vape Radio.
I would love to, but I'm waiting on the trademark to come back.
You are waiting on that.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's some amazing word spelled backwards.
Well, once again, it's very tough to find things people haven't already used in the industry.
Well, as a marketing guy, if I take a name like Revol and now I know the history, and now all of you who are listening know the history, I can come up with some really amazing flavor names because, again, it's all about continuity of your messaging. And so
you probably can guess them off the top of your head. But remember, the things we think of are not what's in the
Of course, you can't have any X-rated flavors because now they're going to accuse you of pandering to the dirty old people out there.
No question about that. I get accused of that already.
Okay, so between now and the end of 2015, you will be involved with any particular. So you'll be involved with ECC and
Vape Blast, VPX,
nice.
ECC New Orleans. I'm going to VCC in Oklahoma with Kevin Skipper. Skipper does an amazing job, him and his crew at VCC. Just absolutely amazing. And then also doing the, I think it's the American Vape Convention.
That's correct. In Irving, Texas.
Irving, Texas.
Texas.
They call it different than we do.
Irving, Texas.
Irving, Texas.
Yes.
With Gabe and his crew. And I'm just excited. The overwhelming acceptance that I get is amazing.
Nice.
And, I can't wait to see what's new at all the events. Well, this is on radio. There's this new mod that I'm holding in my hand.
Oh, very pretty, by the way.
It is. It's amazing, actually. The Great Magnetics. It's called the Reaper mod.
Reaper.
The Reaper mod. And it will also be being debuted at ECC.
And how were you involved with this?
They actually asked me if I would use it over the next couple of weeks and see what I thought.
And you like it?
It's amazing.
Wow. That's a strong testimonial.
SX350. Fits in your hand. It's light. It's just an amazing, amazing piece. And I'm extremely honored. The buttons that are in this are just absolutely amazing.
Fine detail, fine workmanship.
You can just tell this was not something they just stamped out.
What's the price point of this?
I don't know.
Okay.
Don't know the answer to that yet.
Is it on the market?
No.
It's not.
This is a beta piece. And what I will tell you is that I'm honored to have it. It doesn't even have the name of the mod engraved in it. But what I will tell you is it's absolutely amazing. And they're going to sell out at ECC, I promise.
All right, so they're going to be unveiled as well?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So I hate to give out anything in the way of phone numbers or emails for you because you don't have time to take those on, but the Revol website, is it what?
RevolVapors.com.
RevolVapors.com.
It's Lover Backwards.
Lover Backwards. And the website is up and active right now?
I think it's a landing page. I don't think it is. We are as Revol Vapors on Instagram and Revol Vapors on Facebook.
That's awesome.
And Austin at RevolVapors.com.
Austin at RevolVapors.com. Send him an email. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to Vape Radio, the voice of vaping, here with Austin Hopper of Revol Vapors. And I don't know about you, but I got a lot of takeaways here from this. Plus, I just plain had fun, and hopefully you did too. So, Austin, again, on a personal level, we've known each other for a lot longer than either one of us have been in the industry. I love your journey.
We've known each other a lot longer than most of our consumers are alive.
Oh, wow. You're going to go there, are you? So Austin is actually going to be part of a series I'm going to be doing because I love this story, and it's a lot longer than Vape Radio is allowed to participate in, but I'm going to be actually incorporating him into a book, Master of Vapes, which will be available later in 2015, and I think I'm just going to be profiling him and his journey and also the journey of Revol over the next several months and the next several years because I'm really curious to see whether one man can create a dynasty, and I know it can be done. I know it has been done, and I think in this case it will be done again.
Thank you, Norm, from your mouth to God's ear, buddy.
Right on, brother. Ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I have to tell you all candidly, that was probably the most fun I had in an interview because we got into some areas that I was not expecting, and we just had fun. And Austin and I, as we talked about, we've known each other for probably about 6 years now. And I'm absolutely pleased at his journey, and I'm really curious to see where he's going. And so we're going to go ahead and follow him. And hopefully he'll be part of our Vape U continuing series, which is, of course, the 6 pillars of vape space success. So, ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to Vape Radio. This is episode number 60. And one thing I'm going to promise you, we are not going to be quite so absent from your radio or absent from your podcast. We are going to be more consistent in our production, so hopefully you'll be back again and help us make August the best month ever. We're looking for 60,000 plus downloads. So until then, this is Norm Bauer for Vape Radio.
You've been listening to Vape Radio, your source for everything you want to know about the business of vaping. Brought to you by VapeMentors.